Welcome, everyone, to the weekly webinar where QuickSight customers will learn about product functionality, new feature launches, best practices, and tips on how to improve user experience and gain technical knowledge from QuickSight SAs and PMs. In today's session, we'll review the major announcements from our biggest conference of the year, held in December, called reInvent 2022. But if you've seen our announcements or our YouTube or Twitch videos on the topic, we'll be covering new ground today, including some early learnings and best practices. My name is Bashi Mehta, and I'm a QuickSight Specialist Solution Architect. And I've already been working with many of my customers who put forth a few of these features into practice, so I'm really excited to go through this with all of you today. I am joined with a few colleagues who will help with answering quite a few of your questions. And so one of the great benefits of joining us live on our online sessions each week is being able to get that immediate questions being answered. And so with that being said, where do we go for getting our questions answered? We have the QuickSight Community, which is a place to connect with other QuickSight users, and it's the first place you should look for answers to your questions. You can search for answers, ask new questions, be able to connect with other users, and find new resources. We'll also post the latest announcements, as well as blogs and learning resources here, including many examples created by me and my colleagues in the Demo Central section, which we'll be going through today in our demos. So if you haven't done so already, now would be a great time to go ahead and join the community and just bookmark it for future use. So on this link that you see on the screen right now, https://community.amazonquicksite.com, this is where you can go to register for the community as well as then be able to input your questions. So as we mentioned, once you've entered into the QuickSight community page, here is what the Q&A section looks like. So you can search this at the top, and what you just need to do is make sure you have the ID to post for the first time, and so that'll require an Amazon login. And so just use your Amazon.com account if you already have one, or create a new one and be able to set up your ID that way. And then to make sure that the different experts that we have currently on the live stream can get your answers to you quickly, make sure to use the hashtag QLS-reInvent 2022. And so you can see it up here in the upper corner. So just make sure to include that filter, and then we'll make sure to be prioritizing those questions all day today. Now, for the first question that most people usually ask is, will you be recording today's session? And the answer is yes. So we'll have this posted on our YouTube channel and community by the end of this week. So definitely make sure to look out for this if you may not be able to make it for the entirety of the time or just want to review, again, all the concepts we go over today. Now, for today's agenda, what we're going to be going through is how QuickSight has grown over time. So we're going to be diving into our big feature releases this year, which will include Paginated Reports, QuickSight Q enhancements, developments on Spice, the expansion of our APIs, and many more. And at the end, we'll go over a few of the questions that you guys have entered into the community page. So what we've noticed with a lot of customers is that they're made up of users with differing analytics needs and constraints. And so our different executives consume insights and key highlights on the go. We have functional leads that need threshold-based alerts to take necessary actions. May need also to use operational consumers need schedule reports, accessing deeper drill downs, forecasting, application users, as well as customers wanting to take advantage of being able to embed into their everyday applications or being able to ask extra questions without having to do that wait time. And so with the diversity of BI use cases that are needed, as I just listed, when it comes to different users as well as staff members of what they're looking for, it's resulted in a very fragmented approach with using multiple systems and different versions of truth. But why use 4 different tools to receive the answers that you need when you can do it all within Amazon QuickSight? So what we've done with Amazon QuickSight is that we've made it possible for BI authors and developers to use one unified modern solution. And so to author the entire experience from data connection to prep to analysis to dashboards, that's able to be demonstrated in many forms. And so we've seen customers build For an example, interactive dashboards, where you can toggle easily between these different visuals and receive answers within an instance. We've seen them also use embedding with the author experience or the dashboard, or being able to embed Q into their websites for that very homegrown look and feel. And then we've also seen creation of paginated reports with a highly formatted and email-based system in place. And so with QuickSight, we're able to see a scalable, embeddable, ML-powered business intelligence tool that is very easy to use and that will accelerate your time to insights. So as you can see on the screen, in 2022, we were quite busy. And so if we even look back to the last 2 years, we released 150 features. We've made it very large strides from where we started up from in 2015. So in 2015, if people know about the backstory of how Amazon QuickSight came to be, we had a hard time finding a BI service that could handle the scale of Amazon. And so internally, we created this BI tool to be able to do this for us. But we noticed customers were leveraging AWS services and asked us to innovate on their behalf and create something that was a bit more native to AWS. And so, for example, wanting to easily connect with like RDS or S3. And so that's how we ended up releasing it to the public in 2016. But it was very intentionally made for internal usage then, but as you can see now, we've added so many features, as you can even see on the screen, to expand it not just for internal, for many other use cases. And so starting off with the first one, we're going to look front and center, where we have paginated reporting. And so this was a huge announcement at reInvent this year. And so with paginated reporting, what we've done is we've consolidated dashboard and reporting use cases. So customers, you no longer have to have that disjointed experience for your authors and end users. Instead, you have this familiar QuickSight interface that allows you to create and consume these interactive dashboards. But with paginated reports, it makes it easier for you to consume reports in a very familiar pattern and be able to create these very highly formatted models in PDF or CSV forms. And so what you can do is you can access these reports via email as well as within your web and mobile interfaces or embeddable portals. And so you're able to have the flexibility of creating these highly formatted reports, whether you wanted to include images or charts or tables or even the exact page size. They can create these reports. You can use the same data models that you've been using in your dashboards and be able to reuse those. You can even set up those access permissions with row level and column level security, and then be able to publish the same dashboards where your users are looking for that data. And so this is available. These dashboards are available via API, allowing for migration between accounts and programmatic creation and migration of these assets. And so when we schedule these deliveries, we'll easily define when and as well as specifically how readers can access the reports by using the downloaded link or file attachments. And so moving on from paginated reporting, in this last year's reInvent, we also had the announcement of QuickSight Q. And so QuickSight Q, we've introduced this ability for users to ask questions about business data and natural language and receive accurate answers with relevant visualizations within seconds. And so that was 2021's reInvent session of what we announced. But this year, we've taken it even further and we've expanded the QuickSight Q capabilities with new enhanced features. And so starting off with our artificially intelligence enhanced automated data preparation. So we've made it faster and more straightforward to augment existing dashboards for natural language questions. And so with this automated data preparation, we've saved authors the need to create name labels, being able to select what are the correct fields to be utilizing, classifying different dimensions as well as measures, applying different column value formats. And so we've just made it possible. So instead of our customers having to manually do these process, we have taken advantage of our different machine learning capabilities and being able to already make some of those decisions for you to match the results of what your intention would be. So as you can see on the screen where we've disincluded row IDs. So reduced being able to see those. And then you can also see within industry, it's able to understand that industry can also be referred to as business or sector. And so these synonyms were already pre-populated, making it possible to just understand what those labelings should be. Then, when we enter into asking these questions, we've noticed that users want to gain new insights. But they even want to dig even deeper. So not just being able to ask where previously it was like asking where, when, who, what, and so the common W's, but we weren't able to ask why before. And so now we've been make it possible where you can even dig deeper with a new forecast and be able to have these why asking question capabilities. And so you're able to project metrics on historical patterns and then see what historical data contributed to that specific result. So as you can see on the screen, we have it where why did sales drop in January? And so when we look at it, we see that the key driver is the account manager, where it's been a huge reduction, 100%. But we also see within countries, we see that there's been a huge decrease in sales in the United States. And it provides kind of the reasoning and gives a very clear understanding of what could be the reasons why, what could be contributing so significantly to this drop in sales. And then next to it, you can see how that forecasting looks like. It's very similar to what you've already experienced with ML Insights when you apply it into your dashboard, but now you can even use it within your Q questions. The next piece, so for those of you who are relatively familiar with Spice, it is our super fast parallel in-memory calculation engine. And so this is an in-memory engine that can rapidly perform advanced calculations, allows you to store reusable data without incurring additional cost. So this is like a cache layer, and it's a snapshot of what the data you currently have right now. And so with Spice, before it used to be only able to support 1 million rows, but now we've increased it to 1 billion rows or almost 1 terabyte of data. And so this makes it 30% faster with improvements in the query performance, ingestion performance, and availability. And so usually it's like, how did we get it to 30% faster? And this was due to a mix of software optimization as well as new hardware. So these improvements have really allowed our users to have greater autonomy when it comes to visually analyzing large data sets directly in QuickSight without having to coordinate with engineering teams to manually orchestrate among different services. And so just making it a loads easier when it comes to just loading in your data into QuickSight. And so with that, I now want to move into our next piece, which is our APIs. And so a lot of customers, you guys have taken advantage of in multiple ways of being able to kind of programmatically make different changes within your account settings, but we have expanded it even more with not just only the program interface capabilities where customers are able to handle that account management, but we are even allowing for now through the API being able to handle subscriptions as well as account settings. And then a new piece, which is very exciting, is that now you can even create, manage, and edit your BI assets programmatically. And so what this does, it helps accelerate and streamline the migration from on-premise legacy systems, since they will no longer need to be recreated tens of thousands of dashboards and reports from scratch. And instead, you can now use these API-based accesses in order to build out your dashboards and reports, and you can treat them as software source code where you can fully do full programmatic deployments, do different peer code reviews, and this is with no additional cost. So this is just incorporated within QuickSight. To kind of give a little bit of an overview of what those APIs are going to look like and what we're going to be soon demoing next is that, so for when it comes to the APIs within account management, we do have the create account subscription. And so this is being able to create an Amazon QuickSight account or subscribe to Amazon QuickSight Q, being able to describe, make those updates or even delete. And so yeah, the use case of where, for example, if you wanted to programmatically create accounts for within a company website, you're able to automate that onboarding process. As for the next piece, which we will be demoing, it is our new set of APIs to accelerate our BI transformations. And so we'll be going through the describe, analyze definition. And so I think the best way of just showing it and explaining it is by seeing it happening live. And so with that, we're now going to enter into the demo section of our assets as code. And so I'm now going to switch in. So here, all of you guys can see my screen. We're on our Demo Central Learn QuickSight account. And so all of you guys have access to this link. And so if you guys ever need to want to test this out yourselves or want to explore the site in general to understand other different capabilities that are available, then I highly recommend accessing this Demo Central website online and being able to look into these different options. And so I'll make sure one of the moderators inputs one of these links into the chat, and then we'll be able to go from there. And so with that, let's go ahead and dive in. And so when we look at this cross on the side, we're going to go into feature demos, and then we're going to click on assets as code. So for all of you, if you guys are following along with the link, then just make sure to click on assets as code. And here we can see that within this is where we are going to be working with the describe, analyze, definition method. And so how we can go about playing around with this is we can see right now on our screen, we have our visualization that contains a bar chart. We also have our product where we have all of these different multi-selects available. And so what we're going to do is we're going to launch our analysis view because this is right now we're in the dashboard view. So I'm going to just click on the analysis. And so we're going to wait for this to load. And so from here, we can see all of the different fields being used. But now we're going to also launch our code editor. And so this is in the corner. This is a mock-up of what that experience would look like, but yours would obviously be either whether you're using the CLI or using Cloud9 or using your own form of a code editor that you plan on using. But we've just created something to mock that experience of what that would look like. And so here, we're just going to roll this up. And so as you can see, we've created, this is the API that we have. So we're defining what data set we're using. So this is our data set. We also have which sheet we're working with. So we have named it assets as code, and we're on sheet 1 right now. And we can see the different parameter controls. So this is for our multi-select filter that we've enabled. So we are able to set up the different parameters. So we've set up a parameter control of being able to make that functionality happen and being able to hide different search available options and enable a multi-select. And then from there, we're able to see our visuals. And so we've gone ahead and used a bar chart. This is our visual ID. You can see we have our different texts and then being able to as well see the different subtitles. So just going through the instructions. So if me going through this, if it's helpful to also read the instructions of going through it, that's another area where you can reference. But we're going to scroll down as it says here. So we're going to change the orientation to vertical because right now we have a horizontal bar chart. And so what we want to do is we want to change it into being vertical. So when we scroll down and we're going to go into line 120 and we can see that we have our orientation as horizontal here. So I'm just going to remove that and change it to vertical. And then when I upload the definition, we can see that now the orientation has changed to being vertical instead of horizontal. And then we can even do the same for an example where with our bar arrangement, wanting to change it into clusters instead. And so we can scroll down. I went a little too far. And so instead of stacked, we can go with clustered. And so with uploading, we can now see that we have a cluster chart now. And so with that being the case, if you'd like to, you can download the current definition and be able to utilize it, or we can even go back and revert. So I'm just going to click to revert back to our old and then upload the definition. And we're back to where we originally started with a horizontal and stacked chart. So with that, I'm going to now go back and switch back into going through our next piece of new features that have been launched. And so let me click presenter view. And so here we are back. So now we're going to walk through each of the new visualizations that we have included into adding within this past reInvent. And so starting off with the first one, unified colored legends. And so the visual legend, this is to help with identifying a visual element, making it a bit easier. And so how you can do that now is go into your format visual and be able to edit it and unify that color legend. Then we can also add a text box. And so here within this text box, we can add context to the sheet in the analysis by using the text box. So you can provide different directions, you can provide descriptions, even use hyperlinks, and you can even play around with the different font settings as well as colors and sizes and spacing. And it doesn't have its own format setting. And so all you need to do is just make sure within here you'll play around with each of those. And so now, the next piece is that um, we now have small multiples. And so when you're using this feature, you'll need to set up the multiple comparative visuals in a row. And so this makes it really easy to get just a holistic view of your data for your business. And so you can do this on a line, bar, or pie charts and be able to add a field for within small multiples within the field well, which I will show all of you guys when we go through the demo of this. We then have line charts in QuickSight. So as you expected, you have data for each x-axis in the item. So if the data is missing for any of these x-axis items, it can lead into a broken line. So the default behavior, which is that no line would be drawn connecting all of them. But now what you can do with these new updates, you can display a continuous line even though it might not there might be missing data points. You can also show a 0 for an example. So like with those missing values, have a 0, but still have that continuous line displayed, or even being able to still use the broken line method. And then you can also change how those line options look like. Then now for the next one, we have cluster points. And so this is a bit of a different style for displaying points on a map. And so this is just allowing our readers to be able to manage multiple markers at different zone levels. And so when this is enabled, the markers are in close proximity, are clustering into one marker with a number indicating the number of markers in that cluster. And so just making it a bit easier to just combine all of it into one rather than having multiple dots in multiple areas, which we'll go into showing in the demo. And then lastly, we now have radar charts. And so this is um, a significant availability. It is in preview right now. So if this is something you're of interest in, then make sure to speak with your SA or in the community chat, include information about wanting this to be enabled. But as for when it comes to it makes it a bit easier of being able to do different multi-metric comparisons. So we'll go over and showing in our new visuals demo in the next slide that I'll be entering into and how you can kind of make different changes and how to take advantage of these different visualizations that have been added. So with that, we're now going to dive into the new visual demo. And so to exit our Demo Central website, we're just going back to the main homepage. And here we're going to click on this left corner. And so within our dashboard demos, we've actually created a 2022 FIFA World Cup. And so within this, so as all of you guys are aware of, last year was pretty big with the FIFA World Cup being in Qatar, and it was I believe, one of the most memorable moments in the World Cup's history. So it makes sense that when it was occurring, we decided to create this dashboard to track our top players, with, of course, Messi at the top. And so with that, I think looking through, you can see here that we're able to see listing, and then we're able to also look at them overall of like attacking, defending, power, movement, mentality, skill, and goalkeeping. And so here we're providing a list for all of our different players, and you can see it's breaking out only with like a few of them. And then what we're able to see is even top, forward, midfielders, defenders, goalkeepers, and we're even able to see the breakdown based off of each of the countries. And here we're even using the like the being able to take advantage of using small multiples. And so this is where we are getting to kind of experience these different pieces. So I'm going to go into the analysis now, and as we are loading the analysis, we can see that it's creating a temporary copy. The two things I'm going to show us doing is changing the name to countries on the radar chart to make it a bit easier to just see holistically how all the players within a specific country are doing when it comes to each of these areas. And then on top of that, that's also going to show how we built out the small multiples. And so when we click on our radar chart, here we can see in the field wells we provided all the values. So you're just including all the values that you want within your radar chart. And then from there, then afterwards, the coloring is based off of the naming convention. So we have name right here, but I'm going to change this into country instead to make it a bit easier. So we can add it. So we could either add it as a drill down that from the name going into country, but what I'm going to do is just I'm going to remove name and I'm just going to have it showing the four within our country. And so now we have all of our countries listed. So Argentina, Belgium, Egypt, France, Germany, and a few others. And you can see that holistically how each of them are doing as like a summary based off of all of their players. We can also switch it into average instead if we want to look at the average value instead. So we can play around with that capability. And then next, I wanted to show within our small multiples. So as you can see here, we have our field wells. So we have the x-axis and then our value. And then we have this new container on the side that shows small multiples. And so how we were able to create multiple different visualizations within our chart is that we added our country. And so now we can do a comparison between each of the different fields. So our midfielders and being able to compare within and see that comparison easily by seeing it by comparing to all the other countries. And so with that, that is the last of the demos. And so now I'm going to switch back into kind of diving into the next piece, which is that in addition to all of this new charting that we have made possible for our customers to be able to dig into and be able to use, we also wanted to go even deeper and not just be able to provide new visualization capabilities, but we wanted to also allow you guys to feel a bit more empowered when it comes to digging deeper and discovering more underlying insights when using calculated functions. And so here we have added new additions within our new advanced calculation capabilities during this year's reInvent. And so we have evaluating according to a working day. So making it a bit easier when working with examples such as that. For an example, when maybe if you want to determine, for an example, like how long of being able to add within this working day, then you're able to just provide that information. And then within contains, so being able to create a substring of containing the information, being able to do a start with, end with, being able to do a conditional switch, and then as well as having multi-value parameters. And the star originally meant how it had, but this has now been released. But during the time this was originally during when reInvent was first launching, this was in public preview, but now this is fully launched. And then now we also have a new connector for QuickSight. And so what this does is it enables our customers to natively connect to Databricks. And so this will allow for you to basically connect and visualize data from the Databricks Lakehouse, so the SQL version of the platform. From there, customers can then choose to ingest the data from Delta tables directly into QuickSight's Spice super fast parallel in-memory calculation engine, or use a direct query to query the data directly where it resides in the Databricks SQL. And so this new connector is able to support both public as well as private VPC connection. And so as you can see here, and for those of you that are already familiar with it, we can go into, when you go into your main QuickSight page and then you go into the left side, you'll see the availability within the author experience or the admin or author experience where you can do a click on either your, so it will provide dashboard analysis as well as dataset. So when we click on dataset, it'll bring up this page. And so here you'll be able to create a new dataset, or it'll also, so either it'll provide a page where it shows all of your data sets listed, but when wanting to make a new connection or adding, then you'll click on the upper right corner, which will have create dataset. And then here you'll enter into the different dataset options. And so here we have all of our previous ones where we have like upload file, S3, our typical AWS services available, but we also have Salesforce and then Twitter, ServiceNow, GitHub, and then with the addition of now Databricks. And so how that connection looks like is you would enter in. So this is very similar to Viave, even the setup when it comes to connecting with Redshift and not doing the auto connection. So providing the username, password, the ports, the HTTP path, and as well as the database server. And then based off the connection type, as I mentioned, it supports both public as well as private VPC connection. And so going with either option there. And so with that, we also have many more capabilities, so I wanted to just only cover the main ones that were highlighted during this year's reInvent and some additional ones that are personal favorites of mine and things I'm really excited about. But in addition to not only those pieces, we've also added quite a few other capabilities. So as you can see in the upper left corner, we have the Get Insights Faster. So this is where you can create and share bookmarks and be able to save different multiple permutations of the dashboard, and as well as be having that increased performance as we mentioned earlier. We've also seen within embedding this past year, being able to do fine-grained visual embedding. So being able to embed a single visualization, so not having to embed the entirety of the dashboard, but just a single visual there. And then we've also have the domain allowed API. We've embedded Q for anonymous users, being able to submit questions to Q with the SDKs, our JavaScript SDK. Then as well as connectivity, being able to enable row-level security on child data sets, dataset details page, customer manage encryption keys for Spice, being able to use Secret Manager to manage credentials, as well as when it comes to customizations, being able to hide different fields in tables and pivot charts, but you can still utilize those different calculations and have it apply, but just have those fields hidden, which is very exciting. And then being able to configure different user format settings like numbers, separators, increasing the field limit for tables and pivots, and as well as our inline bar charts. And so with that being said, I know I went through a lot of these pieces, and so and I know we didn't get a chance to kind of maybe see a demo or go deeper into paginated reporting. We only covered the surface level. And so I highly recommend that all of you attend. Stay tuned for the next session in this series. That next week we have it on Wednesday, January 25th for Pacific time, as well as Thursday, January 26th at 10 a.m. for Central European time. So making it flexible for both groups of time zones be able to access and view our new paginated reporting, and being able to kind of get a deeper view and see how you can fully build out those pieces. So please register on the community page right below here. And with that being said, thank you all so much. I really appreciate getting to go through all of these pieces. And so now I think we can open it up to looking through each of the questions that all of you had for specifically put into the chat, and so we can review those. But before jumping into that, just make sure to provide some feedback on how this event went for you, as well as please go into the community page and definitely look at all of our upcoming community events that we have coming within this year. Do you have recorded webinar for very beginner? If you check out our YouTube QuickSight page, so I can even share my screen and I can pop up and show you guys our QuickSight YouTube. Yeah, if you've entered into the Q&A portion, this will be where you can enter in and be able to see other questions being asked as well. And so right now this is the tag that we're doing for our current learning series, but just to make sure about that. But what I wanted to also show was we do have our YouTube channel. So we have our Amazon QuickSight YouTube channel. And so if you go into here, you can see all the different videos that have been created within all of our learning series. So you can see even past learning series. And so these are previous webinars that others have hosted and completed, as well as you can also see what's new in QuickSight, as well as how-to demos. So seeing, for an example, doing the session of building out a dashboard using low code to no code, so only using calculated functions to provide predictions. And then you can also see here getting insights quickly through Glue Data Brew and other forms of being able to kind of make different transformations in your data and being able to view it through Amazon QuickSight. And so I would recommend, yeah, just going through the videos and be able to check out, and you can look for early based ones where they share getting started. But I think even, yeah, for example, creating stunning dashboards with low code to no code goes from start to finish of just showing you how you can build out from starting with adding a data set to the end. And so with that, I'll go now into the next questions that we have. Okay, API documentation and availability, but I can't seem to locate them on the developer tools site. Is there documentation for the APIs, and can you provide a pointer? Yes. I'll go back and look for it, or unless if any of the moderators are able to provide the documentation when it comes to the new KPI availabilities. But I'll go back and input it, or I can let me take a quick browse and see if I can find it right now for you.
You know what? That's a great question that I would love to have somebody post to the community. And just wanted to give everyone a quick pointer. We have solutions architects like Baji and also our product managers and experts on QuickSight who go in several times a week to the community, kind of looking for great questions and to provide really thorough, great answers. So if there's something like that where it's maybe new and you're not easily finding it, that's a great example of something where we'd love to have you be able to go to the community and just the top of the page, there's a search bar there, and literally you can just put in, APIs and you'll get a whole bunch of resources and information. But if you type in a specific question as a as a member of the QuickSight community, we are really trying to rigorously answer those questions so that the next time anyone looks for that, there's a really nice answer to it. So we would just encourage you, as you're learning QuickSight, if you have questions, go ahead and post those to the community. And we're really looking forward to making that kind of a first great stop to go searching for your answers, because you may not be the only one who has that question. It may already be answered for you.
So we have this blog post that talks about the new QuickSight API capabilities. And so this will go through talking about the different terminologies. So for describing, creating, updating, and listing. And so this will go through, yeah, the new APIs that have been created for describe the analysis as well as describe your template and then describing dashboard definitions. And then this goes through kind of showing the different commands that you can input and how that would end up looking like. And so this being also a reference of a blog post and being able to reference these. And yeah, you can find them within the community page, as Jill mentioned earlier, but we'll have somebody input it into the comments when it comes to these questions. Yeah, I think the rest of these have been already answered, and I think a lot of these seems to be kind of future requests for feature needs, and so we'll make sure to gather all of this information. I see one also about like copying tabs across separate analysis, and so you can do duplications of analysis tabs, but when it comes to, yeah, for example, calculated fields, I do, we do have, we'll make sure to kind of add that into the product feature request and make sure to get back to all of you with those questions. And so with that, I think that completes the end of the learning series.